Hello there, I'm RG. I tried to bring this on schedule. Uh, it's called Effects 1, Creating Internet Art Films. I tried to bring this live a couple of days ago, but I ran some, had some personal problems, some studio problems. So now I had to reschedule it, and we're doing it right now. It's on my YouTube and my Facebook. What I'm going to do today on the effects one is basically give you several points on how to create internet art films. You know, I started out way back inspired by Hollywood, wanting to when I was young, wanting to make films and do them the motion picture style. And eventually, hello there, the Carlton twins. Hayden, hello there. Welcome to RG's Studios Effects One. Glad to see some people are watching. Um, I was saying that I was inspired by film, the motion picture industry, the creative part of it, and for years I called myself trying to make films the way that I technically saw them. And then somewhere around like after I think it was 1993, I had this moment where I had contacted Warner Brothers Studios, and they were going to take a look at the film I was working on, or going to work on, which was called New Beginning, with that promise of a look and see, so to speak. I had managed to scrap together a crew of about 20 some odd people, and we had put our heart and soul into this production. That don't mean that it was any good. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes um, you you make films thinking that they're going to be great. You love them, but the people don't love them, or they turn out worse than what you expected. But anyway, that experience with 20 some odd people gave me an experience that possibly goes on in motion picture industry more times than not. You have all this disruption, you have people's egos clashing, you have script problems, you have technical issues, and then at the end of the day, the film, no matter how much money you throw at it, it ain't worth 10 cents. Anyway, to make a long story and more cohesive understanding here, I learned that I could not make motion pictures the way that I was loving to see them. The inspiration and the expression were not connecting for me. Don't mean that goes with everybody. It wasn't connecting with me. And then around 1996, my spiraling down of addiction and so forth, I stumbled into what I now call the internet art film. Internet was not there yet, but inside me, I wanted this distributed uh, apparatus. And back before internet, you had to rent out buildings, theaters, whatever. And the internet art, the process of me getting that possible deal with Warner Brothers, the first look, uh, uh, scatterbrain, whatever, they didn't want nothing to do with it once they saw the film. And if you were to see it yourself, you would understand. But that destroyed my hopes in distributing. When a filmmaker makes something, he wants to be able to put it somewhere so somebody can see it. I mean, what's the point of making a movie if nobody has a chance to see it? So, 1996, I created Law and the Order, and I decided to just stop trying to be a motion picture director and just make the film the way that I wanted to make it. Now, mind you, the points and stuff I'm gonna give you in this lesson class inspiration, whatever we want to call this here, um, my developments. Not to say they're written in stone. You can change them as you like. I don't say you have to do it this way, but I say this is the way that I come across it. Now, with that said and done, I decided to not make a 1.5 hour film because all my experiences with my own movies is that people, best I could keep them in the seats was probably 15, 20 minutes. And then they were ready to go. Some filmmakers would think that they're not no good at that point. Oh, I can't make a film, or, and they keep struggling to keep people in the seats. I came to the resolution that maybe your films don't need to be 1 hour and a half or 2 hours long. The story ain't, but I read somewhere in learning filmmaking, most ideas ain't but 3 minutes to 4 minutes anyway. The rest of it is filler, or plot development, or plot character development. And the rest of it, that 3 or 4 minutes is you stretch it out, and some people are good at stretching things out, others aren't. I'm not good at it at all. So I disposed of that, you know. And then that was one thing I did in my transformation to motion pictures to internet art film, is that I disposed of the technique on story concept. And that's where we are. Let me get my book here. I keep many of these, but this is one of many concept books. I got scripts and stuff in here, and I got ideas that come to my mind. 3-minute ideas. Sometimes you might be working somewhere and doing something. Oh, that's an idea. Write that sucker down. You never know. You never know what's coming up. Anyway, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Put move this mic out the way so we can. There we go. I can have some room here on this small desk in front of me. Okay. Excuse me, guys. I call myself having burping, drinking, drinking some water, of course. I mean, drinking. Story points. The story points, I decided to stop trying to make a long script. I think I read somewhere that I learned that one page was about 3 minutes. Now, we're not talking about motion pictures, we're talking about internet art films. If you're doing a short story, you're probably going to still stick with the motion picture scenario. Internet art films, do away with that 1 minute, 3 minute nonsense. It doesn't matter, because that idea that you have in your mind that's about 3 to 4 minutes, perhaps at the best 5 minutes, can be stretched out to 15 minutes, believe it or not. I used to think, who came up with this concept of 3 minutes of filming? How did that derive to that point? If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but it derived around some cycles of how the film is being exposed through the camera, 24 frames a second. And there you have it. Someone come up, baloney. When it comes to internet art films, that's hooey. That's a stoppage. You can't get nothing done. So the concept was to take away the motion picture story concept and implement it with a concept of my own, which was, I got a 5-minute idea. I'm going to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Some short stories are just what they are. They don't have a beginning and a middle and end. They just have a structural expression of an idea. I have a middle, beginning, and end, which means I got credits like any other motion picture. I have plot development like any motion picture would. I have characters, and then we have a structural ending. Now, how long would that flesh out to be? I come to understand that an average TV show, mostly ain't but 40 minutes. I watched a lot of Star Trek, and it dawned on me one day, many years after the fact, about every episode of Star Trek is about 40 minutes. You might be lucky if it was an hour. Is that what made it interesting? Of course, it was not. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't jump on the bandwagon of that one. That wasn't the reason. But it had a lot to do with why some of the storylines were were well structured in some of the episodes, and because people's ideas, they had a limited amount of time, and so they just got in there, did what they needed to do, freshen it up, and voila, it worked for TV back in the '60s. I don't know what they're doing now. I'm not even gonna be trying to be a genius at that. I don't know. I don't know how they structured it. They might be not even using the script. I don't know. But anyway, the second thing I did is the scripting. I don't. Internet art film script typically is about 20 some pages. Let me get one out from my old book here, and here's one that's old, and we can use it as a template, an average. You see how pretty much how thick that is right there. That is script here, last page, 23 pages. This is the script, Shark 2, Wicked Beast. If you've never seen this internet art film, you need to look at it on my YouTube. It is one of my best internet art films. It's about a hunter who likes to hunt animals. I got the inspiration from watching a lot of movies about men hunting animals. One in particular, Jaws, Quinn. I like the character Quinn. I don't care about the rest of them. Quinn was my interest when I watched Jaws. I always thought that he should have been the one that killed Jaws. If nothing else, he died trying to kill Jaws, somewhere around that era. The police officer shooting him, I don't know whose idea was that, but it wasn't very exciting to me at all. Matter of fact, it was one of those, oh, I'm glad this shit is over. I'm gone, because once the shark killed Clint, I was done. I was done, But anyway, and some of the scripts, the scripting is far from motion picture style. That's another thing. I used to write like that, but I don't do that anymore. This is how I write. My scripts are basically scenes that is descriptive. Be very descriptive in this idea to express the idea. Sometimes it can be overly descriptive, but technically it's just descriptive. And then you got your little dialogue that's supposed to be there. I don't know. You can all scripts are not like production wise off of assembly line. Probably in TV probably are, but motion picture scripts some of them can be great. Some of them can be not so great, but the movie turned out to be good anyway. But we're not talking about motion pictures. We're talking about internet art films. We stick with that. When I write an internet art film script, I get very descriptive for some scenes. Like this is a very long description. It's really unnecessary, but it allows me as an expressionist of an artist to just put out anything because I'm also going to be directing this, so I'm not going to be criticizing myself too much about this right here until I get in production. Once I get in production and stuff starts going, I think maybe this scene here, I'm not sure because since it was so long ago, I'm looking at this scene. I'm trying to figure out where. Okay, I think this took place on the boat, and it's a shot where the shark comes through the boat. It kills one of the hunters, and Moon, DB Moon, is watching this. One of his buddies that he had brought on this adventure get killed by the shark, and DB Moon is taunting the shark, saying things crazy. It's kind of descriptive here, but it's letting me know when I film this how I want visually what I'm trying to capture. I'm trying to capture a essence of a mean, abrasive hunter who will almost sacrifice, almost not will, but almost sacrifice his friends for a trophy of the shark because he's so delusional about him killing this shark which is really most impossible for him to do. And that's basically what that script, all this descriptive stuff is. Now, when you're writing an internet art film, always be ready to scratch stuff out like that there. This is only a blueprint. You don't have to follow it. In my learning of making over, I'm working on my 2 movies. I'm on number 50 and 51 right now. When I write a script and I find out that it's after I've done that it's like this descriptive, I have no problems scratching stuff out, because I know in the process of writing, I'm being expressive. So I have the liberty to do as much as I want. Where in turn in the motion picture industry, you probably gotta tune that down quite a bit and be very otherwise, whatever that may be. But it's an expression that I allow myself to have is to be very descriptive. Okay, let's see here. Oh yeah, now, I don't do this in all my scripts, but sometimes I list the characters like that there. I don't do it all the time, but sometimes, like for some reason in this particular one, I wanted to have the characters listed out. So when I do cameo stars, which we'll get to that in a minute, I know how many characters are going to be in this film, and now, mind you, I'm the director already. I already know I'm the director. It's kind of easy when you already know. That's one thing about writing an art film script. If you're the damn director, you don't have to have an okay from nobody. You don't have to wait on a yes or a no. You can say, yeah, I'm going to do that. And voila, I write the characters out sometimes. That way I can sit up there and I can go, okay, yeah, this one here, I'm going to play this part. I'm gonna do this here, and I'll get to that too about who's going to be in it. Right now, we're still on the story and script stuff right now, and that way the story can be structured around uh, these characters because you might have to start deleting certain stuff. Let's say, for instance, you got this. I don't know how many characters in this movie, but we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 characters. You got to structure this story around these 8 characters, and then you decide as a director which of these characters is going to carry this story. I'm not talking about always the star. That's a given. The other characters sometimes might have to be very narratively expressive than the main character in order to structure it, as they say, development. Because when you're in making a script and you're the writer, there's one thing you want to do. You want to be able to be expressive. If you can't be expressive, what's the point making the script outside of money? Now we have to do that over there. What's the point? The point is to be expressive so you can get certain things out. And that's what I do. I look at in this particular script, I had 8 or 9 characters, and then once I had typed it up, because I don't rewrite stuff all the time and all the time. I do one by pen, the other by typing it out like that, and then I'll go through, like I'm going to tell you now, and I'll look at the characters and what's in it. Sometimes I already know in my mind how many characters I have. Other times I do not. And in this case, I more likely had a structural problem with how many characters it was. So I write them down like that. Then I read my own script, I go through it, and I might take some stuff and I say, you know what? This character don't need to be talking this way. It needs to go to this character. And that's where you will find these stuff like this here. Notes attached to the script. You see. Not so much you want to rewrite it, just put some notes down, and say one of these characters is going to end up saying this. Sometimes it's better that way. The main character might be the shit. Don't get me wrong. But it rolls off like it's wrote, and it's not being very expressive, and it's not, and another thing about internet films, I'm gonna get to here in a moment too. It's not about being realistic, but it's being artful. So it's like one character is saying something, but it's typically his show, so you know he's going to have the most dialogue and the most screen time. But what if this character said this instead of he just being the soundboard? Oh yeah, take that, like that. I've done that a lot. I've switched stuff around like you would in editing. You take this scene, put it over here, take that scene, put it over there, instead of doing it by the way the script said do. You go and you look at it, you go, this is gonna be a lot. That's what you do by script, out of script. Not to say per se that it's going to remain that way in once editing. Once editing get in, you might redub it. Who knows? But you being again expressive. Okay, so enough about story and script. We'll move on to another something else. Okay, now who's going to be in it? That's another thing about internet art film is that if you are a filmmaker and you are like me and you are limited with financing, you are limited with people that you know. I don't know a great deal of people, and I don't know somebody who knows a great deal of people. You know, even the best people I know got very few people that they can go up to. I'll tell you something my grandmother told me once. She said, you can count your friends on your first hand. You know what they said? Lie. That's about as many as you probably gonna have. And people talk that, oh, I got lots of friends. They're probably leeches, is what they are. Now, I'm not here to criticize and get on that. I'm making a point in when it comes to filmmaking. I think filmmakers should know it's hard to get people to be in something like a film. Yeah, sure, if you pay them, it's easy. But if you don't have the financing, that's right. if you don't have the financing, then you have to rely on people that you know, and with that, people that want to do something of that nature. I have since I started the internet art film concept, which was after I got out of prison, after I made my film Law and the Order. It was 40 minutes long. I put that script together with the concepts that I just explained with story and script. And I think the script was around maybe at the best 12 pages, and it was a short story about a police officer who was trying to basically take down this guy who was a street thug. He was trying to, the street thug guy. We kind of got story concept kind of got into the mind of the street guy. Why he was doing what he did, and the cop was the secondary subplot of this story, who ends up being killed eventually in this film because he was trying to uphold the law and the order. Now, mind you, I was spiraling down toward my demise in society, drinking, drugging, and all that, and that expression was in me. I had these things going on that was bad, and out of that came this piece of art. That's funny how shit is sometimes. Sometimes you can be at your worst and you make some good shit, and sometimes you're at your best and you make the most terrible shit in the world. Uh, but anyway, getting back to the concept, I only had me and a friend of mine that I knew that had made two films or three films with me prior to that on Super 8 at the time. We've made a Small Time Detective. We've made The New Beginning. So I was pretty, and we've talked, and I've known him a long time, and we've talked many and many times. We've done some experimental work together, stuff that I never released that was in this stages of just testing stuff, but never ended up developing this stuff. Some of it I didn't develop, some of it I did, and I didn't do anything with it, and things like that. Filmmakers know what I'm saying. Sometimes you shoot stuff and you never sees nobody, no eyes but yours looks at it for whatever reason you do it. I had stuff like that, and through this, I knew this one guy, Calvin Jefferson, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna make this film about two people in his house. We'll shoot in his kitchen. We'll use two of his rooms, and that's it. And I started limiting myself to what I was going to have. And little did I know that gave me practice in minimal resources right off the top. 2 rooms. I'm not going to disturb none of this other house, just those 2 rooms, which I got his permission first after we got after I got the concept down. And of course, he agreed to it. Well, with a little bit of persuasion, he agreed to it. And, and I don't mean tricking him. I mean that he wasn't all in at first. He wasn't. He's the kind of guy you would go meet these kind of people. Sometimes they can be your best friends. They like your story idea, but they're not all in on what you're talking about. And sometimes that happens in film. I mean, mind you, we just got to making the new beginning, and things were bad for that, production wise, distributing wise. And the movie it took almost a year and a half to make. I lost someone, a dear friend of mine, through that. So there was some terrible aftermaths in that filmmaking process. And so rebuilding our standard together, that film did allow that. And so we got the film shot. And we had minimal resources, and I had a few effects in the film that I wanted to do that I could do right there on the spot. That's one of the other things I want to talk about, is things like that. But to finish off this one, who's going to be in it? First of all, if you are the director and the story writer, it should be, and you're making an internet art film, it's mandatory you should be in it all day long. There is no others. It's you. You need to be able to do other characters, not just one, maybe 2, maybe 3, depending on how many you got. In this case, if I had 9 people, I believe in this film I did only one character, but I did all the voiceovers in all this film, which means I did about 7 voiceovers in this Sharp Two with the Beast. That's an expression that you have to learn to do in filmmaking. You have to be expressive in that moment if you really want to get into filmmaking. And really, if you're not being expressive, what's the point of get other than money? Again, I'm gonna push that over there. Because if that's what you're about, then it's very clear, you know. But if it's not clear, and you have to ask yourself, why am I involved in this? Now, I'm not gonna say what I again. Don't do this is not in stone. You can do any kind of way you want. The concept is learn to have very little and still get something done. I got so many ideas. I can live 2 lifetimes and never complete all of them. You know, because those ideas are coming and coming and coming and coming. I'm writing down again. I have a briefcase back there full of film ideas. Uh, Doing the hardliner was a film, and you go watch it on my YouTube and the web series that I just started. Those ideas, that internet art film and the web series came from an idea that I've had stored away for over 20 years. You know, before I went to prison, I had thought about doing a concept about a hardliner cop who was, matter of fact, strange as it may be, he was somewhere around the same time I made Law and Order. But this hardliner cop who won't let go of the way that the police station is run. And he's technically a prototype of Bullet and Dirty Harry and the cops of the 70s. That's where his stuff comes from, you know. But anyway, who's going to be in it? You're going to be in it. Your friend. You may not have a lot of them. If you have a whole bunch of them, then well, God bless you, use them. But if you ain't got but a few friends, give them a cameo. Here's something you got to remember. Don't keep nobody 5 or 6 days on a set they ain't making no money. I'm not talking about people you paying money to. That you expect what you expect. You get what you expect, I should say. But if they're doing it on the strength, and I mean for free, I tell my cameo stars 1 day at the most 2. I usually get 3 days out of them because they throw in one. Like, oh, we didn't get that shot. Forget it. We're good. I'll just come something. Oh, Rich, I'll come back. We'll do it. You know, the rest of us finish it up. Thank you. You know. Thank you. You know. But 2 days, you get a little bit, so much you can put them in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end. Watch any of my internet art films with cameo stars like DJ Eric. His first cameo movie with me was Garden of Eden, the Dark Rift. I shot those scenes in 2 days. He's in the beginning, he's in the middle, and he's in the end. Now, it may look like he was through the whole production. This is a technique of internet art film. Why? I'm using as much as I can out of my cameo stars. Get as much as I can get out of them. But I'm not trying to make them be on set or location at the studio for 2 or 3 weeks to get what 4 or 5 minutes of screen time, 8 minutes of screen time. Get all that stuff on there, and make sure when you shoot those scenes, don't have them doing scene after scene after scene. It's the same shot. Oh, let's do that again. Let's do it. Have in your mind what you want. You say, this is what I'm looking for. And allow yourself a little bit of room. You have it in your mind, and somebody comes and they do it different than what you got in your mind. Maybe that's what you need to use. I've shot a lot of film that my mind was saying one thing and I ended up with something else. I go, because if I get everything I want, I'm bored to death. I get full of myself. Now I'm arrogant, and now everything is so perfect, and nobody wants to look at the shit. Shot enough movies to know. I've shot stuff to where I have seen on Super 8, wasting tons of Super 8 film to get this shot I'm looking for. No, I get it. People look at it. No reaction whatsoever. Like, where did I mess up? Sometimes you can, if you got 3 takes, you can combine them takes. Take the best part of one of the other, and you use the other one for some A and B roll. Oh, that's that shit right there. Why are you waste? I've seen so many major productions on TV that behind the scenes going over take. Same shit. Why? Okay. Get the best out of it. That's the cameo. That's the points I want to put on that lid right there. That's point number 4. Cameos. You want to get the best you can get out of them. Get their shots first. As a matter of fact, they should be the first ones coming through the door. And let's say, like, I got DJ Eric, got a meeting tomorrow. I'm going to schedule him. We have been working on this meeting for a while now. We was going to do it early in the year, but the weather was just terrible. I waited until this time where the weather is great. It's going to look better anyway, and we're going to take advantage of the warm weather. We're going to meet tomorrow. We're going to schedule his shots, hopefully the 3rd week in June or sometime in June, if necessary, after July, after my fundraiser. I don't care. Whatever's available in his pocket, as far as time is concerned. And I believe he has the weekends off. I don't, and since he has the weekends off, I'm gonna shoot early in the morning before I go to work. We'll catch the outdoor scenes at 7 in the morning. And streets will be clear anyway, and I don't need that kind of BS shit anyway. And we can get his shots, bam. But that's the thing. Cameo stars, you want to make sure they're comfortable with their schedule, so they can give you the most of what they can. Their expressions are good. And every cameo star I've ever worked with has given me their best. I am not disappointed with none of them. Robert James, DJ Eric, Anita Berkeley. I met a young lady last night. She's going to be in my I got her for 2 films idea. One of them is going to be the 3rd sequel to Sokobo. I'm going to put her in that one. I'm having an idea that she's going to play the role that Anita Berkeley played way back in 2011 when she played Queen Nubia. We're going to get the meeting of Sokobo and Queen Nubia back when they first met. This steamy love affair between these 2 ancient royalties who are both are bloodthirsty in their own right and young in their moment. Because in the last film with Sokobo, we don't get that story. All we know is that there was something there between him and Queen Nubia, and we don't really know. And in that but in that film, she had already she spoke a little bit about him and why did he leave and etc. And she had married somebody else instead of Sokobo. We learned in the next film a little bit more about that relationship, Queen Novia and Sokobo. I decided to bring that character back because it's so much interesting to see Sokobo. Because I just didn't want to make another Sokobo film about a bunch of blood and gut stuff. We got to have some story substance there. So that's one of the things we're going to go. We're going to go a little bit further back, and then after that, we're going to go back forward. This is probably the last time we jump back. I'm getting old. I can't keep going back 20 more years. Can't do that one. So, but we can go back one more time, and then after that, you gotta go for it. But anyway, all right. Location shooting, point number 5. Now, location shooting and matte shots. There are so many tools you can use to enhance your location shooting. If you don't believe me, go look at episode 8 of my Omega Man series, and you'll see a couple of matte shots in that 5 minute idea concept. That highway shot at the end, that structure back there in the back, way back in the back, is a matte shot. And in the beginning, there's some buildings that tore up and grass around the way. That's a matte shot. Everything's shot around the location of the studio, right close, in walking distance. Now, again, we're talking internet art films. So I'm not talking about motion pictures. You put everything on a truck and you ride way across town, or who knows, crossing other state lines. If you got that kind of money, well, good for you. I don't. Um, Walking distance to make my films expressive, what I want. I shoot. I start shooting long ways because after 1993, I decided I wanted everything done like it was back in the 1950s and 60s on the studio lot. I just want to shoot that way. I know that's probably not a lot of people's preference, but it is mine, and it helps my internet art films a lot. I can build a set in my back on my studio here. I can build a big set if I choose to, and leave it outside for months, and nobody's going to say dick. And I can shoot what I want, and then if I choose to, I blow it up, and nobody's going to say dick. My neighbors know me, they know how I am, and I'm not going to destroy none of their stuff, don't get me wrong, but I can make that stuff go into a puff of smoke, without hearing an explosion. It'll look like an explosion, but it won't be one, but it'll look like one. And I'll clean up the mess, and then I got this rapport with the people that I work with. As a filmmaker, you got to get rapport with the people that you're around. Don't just be arrogant and think that just because you're an artist, you have the liberties to tear up shit and never have to adhere to it. Don't get like that. I had that rapport. You bet. Thank you, Carlton Twins. I love that. I love that. Great work in this film. Yes, yes. Thank you for your comments. And thanks for the comments of others. Car Wash Birdfield Inspiration. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Yes. And Hayden Crane. Thank you all for your comments. Um, Let me don't forget my points. The location shooting. Yeah, don't be a film. Try not to be a filmmaker. I mean, I've suffered the same thing as most people. I've had my arrogant attitudes and all of that. But what I'm saying is, try not to have those arrogant attitudes or work through them. And remember, to be a good filmmaker and to express yourself, we have to remember we are people too, and the people that you're around are people too, and respect their privacy, respect everything about what they do as a person. My neighbors know me. I don't go out of my way to disrespect them. I respect them, and I let them know if I'm shooting anything that may look like it's dangerous. There's no harm in what I'm doing. I do not put no one in harm's way whatsoever. I don't like dangerous shit. It may look dangerous on film, but I don't like dangerous shit. I really don't. I don't get that. I know there's some daredevils out there. There's some that want to work with me, but I couldn't do it because this is how I am. Don't you run that car off there. Don't run it off down the hill. Don't do that. Oh, I do that. It's not a problem. Well, it's a problem with me. I got a problem with it. Guy told me that years ago. He was going to drive a car right off there into the canal or something to crash it. I said, no. Not even trying to think how we're going to get it out. I don't even want you to do it. But anyway, matte shots are good techniques to use. Miniatures are good techniques to use. You can use foreground miniatures. I've done a lot of them. You can see some of that work in Hardline. I've done some foreground miniatures right on set, and I'm walking in the way in the background. And sometimes they match, sometimes they don't. I mean, some people's skills are better than mine. I to sharpen my techniques and skills. I'm looking outside. We're about to go on the rain. I got the door wide open. I'm sitting up here looking at the clouds. Um, yeah. But anyway, what was I saying? Um, Miniature work. My I use photographic shots. Some that I take on my own around town, take the shots, whatever, and come back and print them off, and then thus put them up on a platform in front of the camera, or I put it in the studio and set it up as a 3D shot. To get a real good idea about my 3D shots, you can go look at uh, Ace Thunder. No, Ace Thunder. No, Kaiser Island. Ace Thunder. No, Ace Thunder. Ace Kaiser Island. I can't even get my time. This is crazy. Ace Thunder. Ace Kaiser Island. The Kaiser Island. You go look at that, and that's a real good example of inside shots shot with on a platform, a miniature platform, 3D. Like the stuff is set up to where it looks like it's 3D. There's a lot of that work constantly in that film, in another film. Not so much maybe in others, but in that one for sure. And using those types of shots, you can. I've gotten so used to that I try not to use it as much as I have in the past. And it's just one of those artist things. You sometimes get tired of your own work, so you try something new. You I've been shooting on location a little bit more so than I have in the past. Lately, since 2010, I have been slowing up shooting a lot of locations. Matter of fact, I shot very little locations up until about maybe several weeks ago. Thank you, Carlton Twins. I love filmmaking. It's just one of those things where I'm inspired by motion picture work. Don't get me wrong, I love it. And it has inspired me. I'm a product of the motion pictures of the last 5 to 6 decades. I am a product of that inspiration. That's probably why my vibe is so strong because I'm using everything that I've seen and work. There's a lot of techniques that unfortunately they don't use today. The tools, I'm gonna put it that way. And speaking of going back to that about special effects, is like I like using miniatures like this here. This will be considered a miniature, of course, an action figure. This one here in particular, you'll be seeing more of this one here in the Internet Art Film. No, web series. Internet Art Film web series, The Omega Man. Uh, no, sorry. Hardliner. Got me mixed up. Um, and I built a submachine gun for this one here, this character. See, I'm inspired by the Dick Tracy comic books and the movie that Warren Beatty played way back in the 90s. And this character here has got that, everybody knows how this from They Live, how they actually look, and there you go. And I like using these action figures. You can do so much with them. They got all the ball joints because when uh, Harry Harrelson, the guy that did all the early King, the first King Kong stuff, and many other works during the 4 or 5 decades of my life, uh, he built stuff from hand. I don't know how he did this. I wish I had his skill to build stuff. But since stuff like this is available, and people like it, and through that, people create stuff like this because they watch his work and they make stuff that have all these articulations. And you don't have to build anything. You buy what you love and put it in the movie. Of course, I'm not trying to abuse anybody's copyright. If you use this, you got to remember, don't try to make money off of it because you are abusing someone else's copyright. My internet art films are for free, and that's the way I roll. I can get on that. That'll be for another time, another. Yeah, this is a monster. This is a mobster in the hardliner, and Yeah, the episode 2. Remember now, episode 2, Hardliner. You will see this mobster. He has a lady friend that has a machine gun too. These characters like this, I love putting them in film. And because of the articulation of the ball joints, and you can get action figures in different sizes. But in the internet art film, you can make them any size you want, and you can make them look just like they're just as tall as I am. And this is Sean Connery. He's taking the place of Donald Rumsfeld, that was the original hardliner buddy in the internet art film. I don't know if anybody actually knew that by looking at him, because on the web series, he's on the web series now. Why did that happen? I was looking for Mr. Rumsfeld action figure, and I couldn't find him. I just moved into my new studio, and I play shit everywhere. And I'm looking. I'm about to shoot this. It's coming up. Couldn't find it. So happens this Mr. Sean Connery had been in the Wild Bunch, replacing Justin Johnson and doubling for Justin Johnson. So I said, well, you know what, Mr. Connery, you got you another role. You're going to be in the Hardliner series. It's going to last about 10, 12 episodes, maybe even 24. So you got you a little job for right now. So, and he was dressed just right. He already had a jacket and all that. He fit the part. Yeah, I like that. And this one is a tall action figures. He got all those ball joints. And getting back on special effects, you can hook things up to these, and you can use the movement like this here. There was a movement called, I forgot what motion, not stop motion, but something like what was it called back in the 80s? They used it on Dragon Slayer. They had back then, the computers wasn't as fine tuned as they are today, but Light Industrial Magic has set up this computer, and with these things, rods attached to these ball joint dragon, and the motion would be one motion, click, two motion, click. I think I just dropped something. Yes, I did. Dropped the hand, and three motion, click, and this would be run back instead of doing one motion like this here, stop motion. This motion was called, I forgot the name of it. I want to call it continue motion, but that's what I started calling it, because you do one continuous motion, one, two, three, and then it will be like that there, instead of just one stop motion animation. And the computers will be set up on these rods, legs and all will be moving, and you would get almost like a human being walking around, or you have a character. I'm not saying it was better, but it was interesting enough to where before CGI, you thought that maybe this would be taking the place of the CGI. People, I've lost my Mr. Connery's hand. Oh, there it is, right in front of me. Just give me a moment to get back to what we were talking about. I don't like to lose stuff like these little pieces like that there, because if you lose them and you don't get it right away, it's subject to get swept up. It's thrown in the trash sometime between now and whenever. You see, he got one of them. There's one of them already gone because I didn't pick it up when it fell right away. Now he's walking around with a cut hand. Severed. Let me repeat that. Severed hand. Yes, sir. Cool. That's a star actor. Yes, yes, Mr. Golfin Twins. Yes. And now, I even use action figures and I place my face on them, and you have me. This is my double in Hardliner. He's got his, all he had is little badge on. I guess he must have dropped it somewhere. Again, you drop stuff, you don't pick it right up. Richard just somewhere around here. RG knows he's somewhere around here. But anyway, this is the double. Of course, that face is one I took some time ago. It's been in many internet art films. And now it's being utilized again, recycled and utilized in Hardliner episode 2. The Creeps. Yeah. So this is, and actually, this is he has underneath there the Ace Thunder Ace uniform. know that. Don't you tell nobody that you seen that. They'll never know. I took the shoulder pads off so you'll be sticking like this here. The shoulder pads made him look real like he was muscled up. You know, that's how I look, muscled up. And he started. Yes, I wear a lot of padding. Yes, I do because I'm old. That's just the way it is. So I put all my padding, and there we are. Now we'll move on again. We have talked about 5 points of internet art film, and keep in mind if you're inspired by something that you see on screen, you don't have to replicate it to the T. Let your own expression inside come out because most of the time that's what's in you egging to get out is you look at something visually and you internalize it, and then thus the expression reworks it or whatever, and that comes out as expression. So what's coming out in the hardliner is my love of the Dick Tracy films and the comic books, the concepts of this soap opera story. Not saying that Dick Tracy was a continued soap opera, don't get me wrong, but that's the way I am expressing it. I'm saying, when I pick up a Dick Tracy comic book, this subject can be started anywhere. In the street with a murder already, or sometimes he's in the office, sometimes he's at a bar somewhere talking to somebody, and then something happens. And then there may be characters that go on and never get caught for some time. For instance, a lot of people don't know Flat Top did not get killed by Dick Tracy. He drowned being chased by the police after all the murders he done done. His car went off a road into the ravine and he drowned. Ain't that something? Soap opera. I took it as a soap opera. I love them comic books. I'm like, wow, Chester Gould it's amazing. And most of his characters, as tough and bad as these monsters are, you think they needed to get gunned down. Like in the Warren Beatty film, he gunned down Flat Top. It didn't happen like that in the comic. Not that that wasn't good. I thought it was great. But I knew when I was watching, I said, that didn't happen to him. What happened to him, he got gunned down. And I think he had a brother, somebody who looked like him, in his family. And they made him look a little different, but it resembled Flat Top. Flat Top didn't return, you know. He's like, wow, he would kill. Chester Gould would kill off the character, and they did not return. I don't give a shit how popular they were. They did not return. They were the comic book represented its own reality. They were dead. They were dead, and that kind of sets the tone for your interpretation in internet art film. I got a character, Shark Two, the Wicked Beast, DB Moon. There's two films so far. I'm going to make a third one. It's going to be called uh, uh, DB Moon, the Crocodile Hunter. He's going to hunt this big, huge crocodile. Now, if we've seen the last movie, internet art film of DB Moon, we realized he was on the boat fighting this shark and it exploded. So we take it that he died. In the internet art film, this one in particular, the character in the DB Moon, he's like the character from what was that little kids I forgot their names. What is they what is it the little kids from South Park, little kid that dies, come back, dies and come back. This is that inspiration. And I've watched a couple of those episodes of South Park, and it just freaked me out. Every time I saw whatever his name was, he he get killed, and he's back in the next episode. I'm like, and it reminded me how DC Comics had this incontinuity thing popping off. That's an expression that I'm putting out there. Incontinuity. Anything can happen. Just because you died in this one, the next one, there he is again. And I'm not trying to explain it. Kenny, thank you. Kenny, thank you, Carlton Twins. That character will constantly pop up, get killed, died, but it was significant in the storyline. But in the next episode, there we are again. And you didn't have, and South Park did not explain that. That has to be an expression straight out of the discontinuity of DC Comics because they had a lot of that popping off. Batman retired. I remember reading Batman 3, I think it was 300, and it was the issue where he retired. And I'm thinking, this is the end of Batman. I'm glad to get this last issue. Next month, I went out to get the comics, and it was 301, and it was Batman again. Hey, I'm reading the story, trying to see where he picked up from the last time. No continuity. None. I kept getting this from DC every time, and a lot of people complain about that. But that is what DC is, and they're doing it in their films, and people don't even know it. They're doing exactly what they do in the comic books. No continuity. It may look like Wonder Woman, and the rest of them is going to just go off into the sunset as Justice League, and I guarantee you that's not going to happen. They got another story lined up to do something different. I don't care what happened with Green Lantern. They got another story that's going to be something else. They might jump back way back there and pull that Green Lantern way back in the 1950s and throw him up front and call him the new Green Lantern. Discontinuity, this kind of discontinuity is what DC is known for. It made them who they are, and that's why the comic books have lasted over 80 years. And people, I don't think people realize that. It's just what it is. And my storyline for Shark-Tooth Wicked Beast is in that expression, discontinuity. I'm subject to tell you a whole other story that had nothing to do with the last one. So get ready for DB Moon, the crocodile hunter. I don't care what I told you in the last one. I'm not even going to look at it. I'm just going to do it the way I feel like it, you know. And anyway, because that's the expression. It's not to pillage people. It's to that's what I'm feeling with that episode, that storyline, that character. The first one, he supposedly, I had written it that he killed himself, but I decided to take that away, and so it made it into a Twilight Zone. We don't know what happened to him, but then he shows up in the second one, and it's like, what the hell? But anyway, music. What to use and why to use the music that we pick. Now, um, music is some people can do music. I can't, but I'm good at listening to stuff, and I get inspired by music of other people's work. That does give me the cohesion to work with several people who I can hear their music and I can see these scenes. So I'm oh man, yeah, that never worked. And I let them create what they want. You don't have to have a. I mean, unless you're making a motion picture, I normally don't care about how you make the music. I'm not particular. I just want to hear it, and then I envision these scenes. The music I'm using for the web series Hardliner is by a friend of mine that is in Minneapolis. He had created this music. He had given me about 4 tracks. I've only used maybe 2 of the tracks. I haven't used his full blown stuff yet. But like I told him, I have to finish the scene first, and then I play the music, and then I listen, and the inspiration starts to fit. Wherever it comes in at, that's where it's going to be. You know, if I like it immediately, it's a guarantee that I'm gonna use it. But if I don't like it immediately, I have to listen to it and see where it will fit. Or if it can fit. Now, I'm not saying music is no good if I don't like it. It's just that it's not prompting me. Out of the two, out of what he given me, 2 of them struck me right away. And you hear that in the one that's talking about Buck Velvet, come and get you. How do it go? The jungle. I'm coming to get you. He's going to get you. And he had this high pitch going. I kind of like that because it reminded me of the 70s songs and the lingo. And again, I'm looking outside. It's what I did. But anyway, you have to be ready. Yes, crocodile movie. I know that's right. I'm going to make that crocodile movie. I really am. I've been thinking about it here lately. I think next year I'm gonna put it on the docket to get made. I'm conjuring ideas for it. We're gonna see another film with internet film with DB Moon. He's gonna be somewhere, someplace. Thank you. This is my new studio place. I'm having a real good time. It's my new place. I'm loving it. Let me show you a little bit more of the comic books I got up there. I just love them comic books. I really do. And I got a lot of stuff over here in them comic books right over there on that wall over there. And I got more comic books coming in that I'm going to start selling, and I'm going to keep a few on this. It's going to be on this wall back here. I think, let's see, there's something right there. I'm blocking the way there, but loving it. And I got two more rooms back there. I got a studio room, and then I got my bedroom. This studio is more of a home too. My kitchen is no longer at the first one. I shot, ate, eat in my kitchen. My kitchen is my kitchen. And I got a studio room back there, and then I got a big backyard that is a studio lot. Uh, I can build a set, do what I want, and shoot things right there, right out that back door, right there. And then, like I said, I got the studio room right there. And my stuff. Anyway, where we at? Special effects. Okay, there are many tools can be used in special effects. Yeah, you're right, Mr. Bailey. I'm glad to see you. Glad to see you on here. Yeah, I got a lot more room, even though the first studio was real small. I did a lots of work in that. The first 15 films of that, Joe, was filmed right there in that little small studio. This one is a lot more room. It's spacious. It's not as spacious as the other place that I had to move away from, but it still got two rooms. Both of them had two rooms. This has got two rooms. It's a lot bigger than the first studio, and I'm not crowded up. I'm loving it, and it's great. Like I said, I mean, give you another shot of that. That's over there. I even got my moped in here, right there. You know, and I'll show you. Let me that table over there. Let me see get this right. Ooh, whoa. There we go. There's a table I'm working on. I mean, I do my scripting on right over there, right there. Got my chair right over there. You can see my trophy way in the background. But yeah, there we go. Get that back. I have to keep my moped in the house here because in the studio because I don't have a garage anymore. So there we have it. But it stays right there. It's all right. I can always move it out if I want some more room for whatever. But I usually don't have a lot of company anyway. So unless I'm doing something special at the studio, and the world's going on out there. Oh, they're working on something out there. Anyway, getting back to yes, $5 film school. That's right. $5 film school. Matter of fact, when we talk about special effects, let's talk about the budget while we're sitting up here. Um, Budget of my internet art film run between about $500 and let's say about 900. I think the highest I've ever went was 1200. I believe I can't say which one was that, but I remember I think it was the Wild Bunch internet art film. I spent a lot for the costumes and might say I overspent on costume stuff. Probably could have done better with the budget and spent less and still got the same thing. Sometimes when you're shooting, when you're making or creating a film, you just want to go spend some money. You know, most of the feature films are made for 0 to 500. That's right. You better know it. And when I have gotten kind of comfortable with internet art filmmaking, that I would easily spend $400 on the internet art film. You know, buying costumes, some paint, material to build stuff, and that nature. Uh, Very little of it will probably go to a person to be in the internet art film. I got this individual, this lady, and since I don't have a lot of lady friends that like to be in films, this type of work, I have to bring people in. I got one that I'm gonna bring in. Her name is Dee Dee, and I got her name somewhere around here, but I think that's her nickname, Dee Dee. Beyond, Beyond might be her real name. I may be mispronouncing her name. But anyway, Dee Dee, I'm gonna end up paying her. I said we'll discuss that at the time of the film that I'm speaking of. But I told her it probably won't be very much. Give it $40, $60 to be in the internet art film for one day or some stuff like that. You know, I told her that's I'm not making any money. And that just happens to be the truth. All my films are made financed through Patreon, which I have a Patreon account. If you're out there and you're the type of person that loves this film, and I love these types of films, love creativity, uh, and love my studio and what it does, sponsor me on Patreon. $1 $2 a month would be great. If I if I can get 70 people doing that, $1 $2 a month, that would add to what I got. I'll build a bridge back there in the back and I'll blow it up. The next time we get to making Expendables in our film, we'll build a bridge. Because I got my eye on the bridge down the street, but I can't blow it up. But I'll build one. I sure will. Special effects. Now, I have done so many types of special effects. I've used stuff from the past on special effects, stuff like miniatures, um, special effects, makeup appliances. This is an ear that put right here, and then I got another one. I'm about to drop the stuff here. Put like this here. See how it looks there, and you never. I've learned this off of Orson Welles. The nose and the ears. You just change them a little, and you get a different. Even though maybe people recognize you, what they start to see is a character. And this is what we got to keep in mind. If you are an internet art film type of guy, short filmmaker, you don't have nobody. Remember, these pieces can do wonders for a character. If you're not afraid to step up in those shoes and act, do something different. Okay, people may laugh at you, but if you see, compared to my own ear, which is small, this ear gives me a different look. You see what I mean? It brings about it brings people into the relevance that I may be looking at a character. Now, what they're gonna be expecting is your performance. Now, you gotta keep that in mind. Just because you throw on a rubber latex and whatever, and you don't put no performance in, don't expect people to actually gravitate to it right away. They may not, but I always think the appliances helps me get into character at the time thank you, Coffee Twins, that I'm doing these shots, and sometimes I get a little elaborate and I'll put in, like I said, the nose and the ears. I'll do something like this right here. Like this, ear made, and put that over as the eye. This is a monocle, but as you notice, it's just a cap top. But when is somebody looking at it, they think monocle. I agree, cap right away. I'm telling you. Just imagine the ears right there. Let's see if we can just stick that. I think I got a little tape there. We'll see what happens. We put that in the spot. We put that ear up there. We put that big old ear up there. And now you are clocked. I'll tell you now. And I will tell you, yes, Mr. Bailey, someone without traditional training, your acting is so good and committed is why I want to cast you in something when I'm able. You have great insight. Thank you, Mr. Bailey. I was reading what he just sent me. And I will do that for you, Mr. Bailey. You got the script ready. I'll do it. I sure will. Love to. I love to. Because I am RG. I love this goddamn shit, I tell you. Yeah. See, I was getting into character. I was loving it. I love doing that. Love that stuff. And let me read something here. We have folk filmmaking movement. Oh, I haven't heard of them. I will look them up when I get done today. I'm gonna look them up. I sure will, Mr. 922 Films. I will look them up. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Bake Your Noodles. Oh, that's a Bake Your Noodle production. Thank you for that comment. I just love this stuff. I've been doing it so long, and I've gotten seasoned at what I'm doing. Grant you, I didn't start out just like that. It's one of those things you should listen to. I'm going to do that. I sure will. I will be tuning in on that one. Yes, I I just got so seasoned into doing what I do, and over the years, I've thanks to other people that I've met, Justin Johnson, Darren Bailey, a school of people here in Wichita, and the people in LA. I have, like any filmmaker or an artist, I have put that into me, and now I push it out into an expression. You know, like I told someone once before, the studio did not come about instantaneously. Matter of fact, when I got out of prison, it was a young friend of mine, lady friend of mine, who we talked and talked, and I talked to her and her husband, and they both said to me out of the way it came out, why don't you just transform your place where you're at to a studio? I'm like, you know what? 20 years of filmmaking, and I think that, and I thank them for that. So a lot of my stuff that I do now is a compilation of building of experiences, working with people, talking with people. Believe it or not, listening. I'm listening to them, and I enter that stuff. And now it's it seems. Do you see yourself working with big studio? I would all Mr. Baker Noodle Productions. I wish one of those majors would contact me. I wish they would. I would love to do something for a major studio. I can see it now. I'm answering your question on that level. I can see that. However, I don't think they will talk to me. I think the last time I sent something to her, and let me tell you, it was not long ago. Um, I'll tell you who they were and why it was sent. When I heard that Warner Brothers was going to make another Superman movie. Now I don't know. I didn't know who the writer was going to be at this time. I just heard the jabber because I get into the trades, and I'm a fan of DC Comics. Not so much I wanted to do the Superman movie, but I was thinking, maybe I could do a comic book film. That's what I was thinking. You know, and I said, oh, they're going to make another Superman movie. And then I heard about the other concepts and stuff they was going to do. Didn't know what was going to come of it. I sent them my resume. I sent them that, which included the film The Double Digits, directed by Justin Johnson, to give them an idea of who I was, and then and stuff. And they sent it back. That's how quick. That's how quick they answered me. They sent it right back, like, oh no thanks. So I don't know what the studios want these days. I would love to do. I don't know about the Superman movie, but I would love to do something for them. I don't think I fit their criteria. But if they ever gave me a chance to make a movie of this the way that I like to make, I guarantee you, people will keep coming back and 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 back to see it. I promise you. But we would have to have an understanding that they got to let me make something of their treasures. I could take something from their studio, all the stuff that they got, all the music, all the characters they got. Just let me just twist it into what I know, and you know, I can do that for them. It'd be fantastic. Any studio, it ain't just Warner Brothers. Any of them, all five of them got something. Okay, there's another question here. Okay, Dee Cash, what do you think should change about the way the big budget studios make films? Well, um, what I think they should do on top is to start using their own supplies. Uh, I know some people don't like this concept, and they may not like the way I'm going to say it, but they need to start recycling a lot of stuff they already got. I don't know what a lot of studios I think have auctioned off most of their supplies, like their costumes and stuff like that, and sold them on the market for money. But I know there's probably a warehouse of stuff that are just sitting there with dust and it's useless right now. And they got scripts and storylines. They got music that is useless right now, just sitting in somewhere. Here's something they should do, and I'm gonna give you a real good example. When you watch Hardliner 2, The Creeps, you're going to see something amazing. I've used recycled footage from several movies, big studio stuff, to carve this beginning of Mr. Buck Velvet chasing down the character Leatherface. That's what I mean by recycling. They can do it better than I can. You know, if you see me do it, I don't use that much. If I can do it, they can do this. But they can do it artful. I'm not saying they got to do it to fool people. They need to let creative people just get in there. That's true. That's true, Mr. Bailey. You're right. Um, I've been fortunate that my unsolicited material in the past has gotten in there and they have looked at it and I've gotten calls and we've talked. Now they don't talk. You're right. That's exactly what's going on. You got to know somebody on the inside. That's just the way of the business. Mr. Bailey is right. You have to know someone on the inside who can ensure it gets seen by the right people. Now I do admit I sent it to the Warren Brothers Studios. I sent it to J.J. Abrams because since his production is going to be the one to make the new Superman movie. Uh, yeah, you're right. Security, and you're right. Security is no joke. You're right. And I sent it to a news media outlet that deals with Warren Brothers Studios on a regular basis. And I don't. The other two pieces of information that I sent them didn't come back to me. But one straight to Warner Brothers Studio. Warner Brothers is having problems with with executives being either being resigning or being let go. So I think Mr. Bailey says, "What is your all-time film favorite?" Ooh, all-time film favorite. Uh, my stuff is I like Once Upon a Time in the West. That's one of my all-time favorites. I love that film. Um, the Wild Bunch is the second, and then of course I can go down a list of films. It would not necessarily be like high or low, but they're not number one, but they're favorites of mine. And I could see you on Adult Swim. Yes, someone else said that to me too. Mr. Baker Noodle Production. Someone else said in all seriousness. Yes, someone told me that my work reminds them of that kind of stuff, and I think that's where to answer another question that was asked earlier. I think that's where a lot of the good creative stuff is brought in now, where big studios are standing away from. They don't want to it's that creative control that's a problem so much. Not so much making the money, but it's creative control because you got executives there about that. They about that money. You know, I work directly with JJ. Oh my God! A couple of days with I know that's right. Yeah, it's very hard to get into the studio business. Regardless how good you are, it's hard to get in there. Yeah, yeah, you're right. That's just facts. Chain of command kind of thing. Yeah, yeah. I would. I don't live there, and I think even if I was there close to J.J. Abrams, I don't think I would have the nerve to actually just throw it in front of his face. It just it's easier for me to send it through the mail and hope that he get to it. I mean, that's kind of a cowardly way of putting it. But um, um, and real, I'm gonna be real with you, everybody here. I took that as a long shot. I'm gonna tell you what I told somebody at the job. I felt that they wasn't going to even look at it anyway. So I put my resume together and I said, here, I could do I wasn't really thinking about the Superman production. I kind of thought about it a little bit, but I was thinking of a superhero film. They got many they can pull from that I could be good with, and that's why I was kind of throwing it out there. But I really internalized it that I really didn't want nothing to do with the Superman project. I really didn't because I felt that that's one of those you got to be careful with that one. I felt really on the outer side of that. I love Superman. and I wouldn't want no one to fuck that up, and I certainly wouldn't want to be the one to do it. You know, the code. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, yes. Thank you, Mr. Bailey. I try to inspire because that's my aim. You know, I love to inspire. Now, what I would love to do for a major studio is take stuff they already done, old stuff. I'm not talking something really current. I'm saying old stuff, and let me rework it into something else. That's what I'd love to do. And let me and this, I can't say right off the top exactly what it is. Like I'm gonna just take Warner Brothers for instance. If you take the Hardliner, episode two, The Creeps, you'll see what I mean. I took some stuff, and I don't want to tell you what movies it's coming from, but no, I took some of their stuff and I put it into my films. Good stuff. Let's see here. We got another question. What is it? What, Mr. Bailey says you're doing the right thing by making your content and controlling everything yourself. This is if a studio wants to use you for something, they will absolutely find you and reach out to you. Yes, they would, and that's how I kind of look at it. If they want me, they know where I'm at. You know, I'm speaking to others that probably have no idea of that or concept. But if the studio, when major studio wanted me, because my stuff is there. I'm not trying to make money off their work. I'm not trying to do that one. That is, I've had the talks with Warner Brothers on some stuff, and basically I had to sign something. But and because they thought I was trying to make money off there, I'm not trying to do that. But if they want to make some a big movie, I can make them something that would make them $1 billion at the box office easy. And it wouldn't be nothing new. It just takes some recycled stuff and and they can have the character I create. I don't give a shit about rights of a character. They can do like they always done in the past. I sign it. You can have that character. Just let me work on it and do what I like and make you somebody. Yeah, exactly, Mr. DD Cash. The idea of old footage is awesome. It's almost like how music mixes work. Yes, a friend of mine, we call it sampling old footage, and then I got that from watching Steve Martin's film way back in the back. It was risky, but they did it. Dead Man Don't Wear Plaid. If you know what I'm talking about, that film may not be a genius in its conceptual visualization, but it is a genius in the art sense. I love that film in the art sense because they took stuff. Because I'm a connoisseur of old work, and I knew everything that they picked. And I said, "Gosh, oh my God!" And I knew what they were adding to add to those scenes. Plot wise, well, yeah, there was some trouble there, but what you did have probably 20 or 30 films you were picking from. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, they picked over 50 films of footage to make an hour and a half. They had a lot of footage, so it was kind of hard to try to make a plot out of all of that. They did a damn good job in my aspects because it is something that an art artist like me, I took. I'm like, and again, that adds to what I'm talking about special effects. That's what I mean by that. Is using stuff that probably has been forgotten about, and thus you use it. I keep looking outside, people. So I'm sorry. I got my door open. Let me close this. I'll be right back. Yeah, I'm sorry. That it kept this. It kept the outdoors and the cars going by kept distracting me. I gotta close it. It doesn't change the atmosphere here anyway. So, someone else says films from Canada. Same here. Make your noodles. Your content has a lower vibe. Yes, I love lower films, and I think that expression comes out of that. And one of the lower films that I love is when the great Orson Welles done Touch of Evil. A lot of people probably don't think much of that film, but Orson Welles come out the gate with the greatest film on earth, Citizen Kane. Who would have thought that film would have been a curse to him? Who would have thought that? You know, I think only later he started to review that as a curse to himself because nothing he could make after that compared to that. And no, it could not, but that doesn't mean he can't make good films. I love his work, Orson Welles, and I just I could talk hours about Orson Welles, but I'm gonna talk about his inspirational. apparatus piece that coming that I just even his last movie that he never got to finish. I love the something about the wind. I saw it on Netflix. Love that man's work, as an artist. Again, when you're making stuff like that, sometimes it's not gonna make a lot of money. I'm sorry. Uh, I realize a lot of my stuff won't make a lot of money. I realized that from the very beginning. Um, there's also a movie called The Be Kind. I heard of that title with Jack Black. In the same vein as yes, 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 yes. I'm gonna look at that. Be Kind, Rewind. I heard of that title. I don't know why I haven't seen this film. The best opening ever, Tuskegee. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Mr. Bailey. And that's where he used the appliance of the nose concept the most. And he's a master of this. Um, he himself is the one that I got that from because he said the nose, for some reason, the bridge of the nose can give you a different character in a whole nutshell. I don't know how many characters he did done, probably endless amount. But that was one of the ones that when I studied filmmaking became my guide to understanding makeup appliances. I'm not a makeup artist by trade. Don't get me wrong, but that doesn't mean I don't want to indulge it. As an internet art filmmaker, and you got limited resources, limited people, you got to wear many hats. Sometimes you may not be best at it, but you do what you can do. I got another appliance I'm going to show you here. And all these appliances I'm showing you are in the new film, The Garden of Heathens, Shape of Events to Come. I'm using these appliances, and as you can see here, I got one that's almost go over my whole face. And the jaw down here, and when my jaw sits here, it moves wherever you can say, and I get into character, and I place this on my page, and I go into it. I'm a kind of guy, I don't mind acting. Now, this may be risky for some others in the business or whatever. Uh, I'll get back to that. Let me answer some stuff here. Also, there's a movie called Touch of Evil taught me about suspense. Yes, 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 Mr. Davis. Yes, it's one thing to have a bombard random to go off, eh, randomly go off and surprise you. It's another to see a bomb planted and not know when it's going to explode. Hitchcock, yeah, Hitchcock is the best with suspense. I watched a movie that had taken stuff from Hitchcock, and of course they admitted it in the storyline later as a backdrop. It's called The Woman in the Window. I watched it the other night. Good movie. It's okay, but it's forgettable. I swear to you, it'll be forgettable. And the first thing I noticed is the camera stuff. Suspense. The woman trapped inside the house, just like Jimmy Stewart was. I think that was called Rear View Window. And I'm like, you know, sometimes you just got when you're inspired by something, the best thing to do is make it your own, regardless how it goes. Like I said, it was a good movie, but I can understand the process of dealing with a book, of being printed, making money, that's going to be in production and making movies. There's going to be some changes. That's all it is. But it was I wasn't really thrilled with it because it did very. There were some jokes in that, jerks of suspense a little bit. One thing I didn't that got me is when at the suspense part is at the end when the woman was fighting for her life. She wanted to die at first, and then when she was fighting for her life. This guy had this thing in his hand. He just said, oh, and he just went through her face, and it was like, and I was like, oh, and, that got me. I had to admit, they got me with that one. The rest of it was just waiting to see what was going to happen. Suspense is Alfred Hitchcock is good at suspense, no questions about it. And Touch of Evil, Orson Welles, like I said in the beginning, he had to live up to Citizen Kane. And I think that through that process, people didn't relate to his suspense tether as well as they could have back then. I'm not saying now, back then. Because when I looked at The Touch of Evil, I liked it. I loved it. I loved his role in it. I loved Charlton Heston's role in it, and all the other actors' role. I loved that film completely. To me, it was film noir. It was outside of the major movement in Hollywood. Because at that time, the scope of Hollywood, the moguls were dying off. The 1950s were coming to an end. and the money was drying up from the East. And so films had to take another approach on how films were made. And the Noir was supposed to be the new way. Of course, 1960s rolled in, and we got new filmmakers saying things, low budget. It changed. But anyway, we're not talking about that in that sense, but we know that if we're a filmmaker, we know these moments. It's up and down with filmmaking. Back to special effects. Oh, wait a minute now. Yes, Hitchcock is the master. That's right. The movie Rope. Oh, I love Rope. I love Rope. I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Bailey. Everything in that shot, they were long and continuous. Very little editing. No one would ever try that today. It's hard to do, which is made it look like it's one. Yes, yes, yes. Not knowing if it will get found is so. No one is better than suspense than Hitchcock. Why is that so? I think it's because he would take simple stuff. North by Northwest was one of them that was like, I'm not a Cary Grant fan. I don't mean that by trying to disrespect no one out there. I don't like the actor that well. And it's hard for me to watch any of his other films if it ain't directed by Hitchcock. Because he brought that actor alive. Mm. I did not know that, Mr. Bailey. 1917 is like that, and Birdman are good examples of. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to watch both of those films. I did not know this, especially 1917. I like war movies. I'm for some reason I just love that military shit. So and World War One is something I love. I've watched the history of it, and so I'm interested because that's done by Christopher Nolan. Yes, I'm gonna have to look at that and see what's going on there. I think I watched a little bit of it somewhere. I think there was a take of it somewhere. I do remember something about that, but I did not know there was. And Christopher Nolan is very good at inspirational wise stuff, just like he taken when it comes to Interstellar. Automatically saw the Stanley Kubrick inspiration. Automatically. Love that. That's one of my favorite films of Christopher Nolan is Interstellar. He took a simple concept of space and then thus he went there with the technology. He didn't quite explain some of the things about how we ended up from that point of reference of history and thus in space. What's that? Oh, what am I thinking of then? Oh, I'm thinking about Dunkirk. I'm sorry, Mr. Bailey. I'm thinking about Dunkirk. That's what I'm thinking about. Those are the things I saw. I need to look at 1970. It was directed by Sam Neill. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. I'm thinking of Dunkirk. Thanks for the correction. I have to watch again. I'm gonna have to watch 1917. I haven't seen any of it then because I saw a little bit of Dunkirk. Okay. Thank you for that correction. Uh, Sam Neill. I don't know if I've seen any of his films at all. 1917. But I do love war movies. I'm going to have to check that out. 1970. Thank you for that correction. Now, getting back to online, still about special effects. Those things are, as an internet art filmmaker, you have to think about wearing many hats. And I will have to see that. You worked on that really. Great World War II one, great World War One documentary I worked on, directed by Peter Jackson, is called They Shall Not Grow Old. I never heard of that one. You'll love it. Really? I'm gonna go look that up when I get off of here. I sure am. They Shall Not Grow Old. Wait a minute. I think I've heard of that title, but I've never seen the movie. I'm gonna look at that. I sure will, Mr. Bailey. We'll have a conversation about it at another time. Sure will. Back back to the FX. Sorry. No, that's great. I love this because it gives me things to work on. Inspiration comes from many different angles. You never know. When I never love to stick to a script solid. I love improv. I love to interject certain things because you never what knows what can come of it. It used to kill me to see great actors would miss the opportunity. You know. Thank you. Thank you very much, Colton. I mean, because interjection from others and interaction, I get very little. Trust me, now I love this today. I don't get a lot of interaction from the consort of others when I'm doing a live. When I get it, I'm listening. I've got these little ears and I'm listening to stuff, and I'm taking these little eyeballs and I'm reading stuff because it allows me to be. I love to interact with others when, especially with something I love. If I don't like it, well, of course, I'll just dismiss it. I hate to be rude like that, but I will. You know. But anyway, or adding to that, uh, adding to that special effects and many hats as a filmmaker, you have to learn. I have learned to be. I didn't like to write and do story. But I love stories, but I didn't love to do the scripts. But it allowed me to be expressive. In order to be the story guy, I had to learn to come up with my own types of scripts that would allow. And some people they have it in the beginning. It was troublesome, but because I had evolved and I had done certain different styles, I don't have all of them with me at this time. But I have after Shark Two Wicked Beast, I learned to make an internet art film script and say this is how it's going to be. I rarely go past 23 pages. That's usually we'll stop at about 40 minutes to 50 minutes. Special effects. I love using appliances, appliances like this here. I'm doing 3 characters. I think the most characters I've ever done in the internet art film were about 4 characters, and I'm doing about 1, 2, 3. I'm doing about 4 characters now in the Garden of Eden's Shape of Events to Come. I'm doing 4 characters myself. I'm having DJ Eric do reprise his role as General Campbell. Who else is in that film? I have no one else is in the film. That's pretty interesting. And sometimes when I do that, I don't realize who does what until almost midway toward in the production or is over, and I realize, wow, I had one cameo star in this one. And other characters are being done by action figures. I got General Eisenhower, General MacArthur, and then I have the Tuskegee Airmen who are in this UFO saga production. Now, the reason why I'm using each of these characters because they play important parts in the history of our great nation. The Tuskegee Airmen. If no one knows about them, I actually met a Tuskegee Airman in my life. I met one, and we talked, and he told me things. And he was an old guy, to say the least. He was in his 80s, late 70s, early 80s, somewhere around. He told me things, and I love that guy. He told me some historical things that was very relevantly important to me, and it allowed me to start to understand because I was not a history buff in the beginning of my life. I became historically a buffer in that as I started trying to take up story concepts and stuff. And he told me about experiments that were going on in Tuskegee Airmen that are not really known to the public. People can probably argue up and down about what was dangerous, what was not dangerous, but you got to remember something very important. Like Eisenhower said, some of the things that happened in America was new to the American experience. That in itself is understanding that it wasn't all laid out for us to look at other nations and see what we need to do. Experimentation that were going on with the Tuskegee Airmen was basically all black fighter group who at that time was unheard of. How good are they? Are they going to work out? A lot of stuff. People can dig into the racial aspects of it, but here's a fact: they were there. They did some stuff. They had a score that was higher than most platoon regiments that were going through regular training. Why theirs was so good? It didn't have a lot to do with the color. It was the fact I think it was the rigorous training that was going on that was not known to the American public. You got to remember, A lot of people were put into World War II. They only had 6 weeks of training. Tuskegee Airmen had a lot more training. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of difference there. 6 weeks versus experience training, you know. So, and they did some other stuff that probably won't sound so good, but I'm not going to talk about those right now. But that allowed me to put that concept into the Garden of Eden. This general is from the Tuskegee part of history. You got Eisenhower, who made it very clear to the American people there are powers to be that need to be checked before I leave, while I'm in office, and after I leave. And we know what he done in World War II. So his involvement in the UFO phenomenon was, first of all, there's claims that the first contact happened on his watch. General MacArthur warned us of the impending possibilities of us having to face this great society, maybe others that we're going to have to fight later. You know, makes for a great story. That's what I'm talking about. That backs up all the way to the first of the beginning when I was talking, and that it eclipsed the special effects and the miniatures, but it does encompass that they are miniatures in the film, and you might want to. I have to use them to express this storyline. You might want to consider miniatures, whether you make them, whether you buy them, to express them. Because those types of miniatures in my films, I can buy them and look at them and say, that's the kind of expression I'm trying to get. Because as a child, when I was growing up, these are men that I had looked up to as leaders. You know, the Tuskegee Airmen, General MacArthur, Eisenhower, they remind me of my grandfather. He was kind of that time because he fought in World War II, and he was of that moment. It's just something that becomes like, oh, yeah. You'll see it when you see these characters expressed in maybe not as cartoonish as I got them, but you'll get the essence of it. And then B, blood shots and blood on in the movie. When I did the Wild Bunch, there was one thing I had to remember. If you've seen the original Wild Bunch from 1969, Warren Brothers, it's a bloody movie. Definitely ain't for children. But I was 10 years old when I watched it, and it was bloody, even though they cut it to hell. Back in the 70s when they put it on TV, it was still bloody. But when I saw it as a original content, I didn't see very much difference in it. They cut a few things out, but the cutting of the throat, it was like a couple of frames. But they cut in the blood, you know. Blood shots can be done in two different ways in internet art films without visualization. You can get a balloon, blow it up, you got blood in it, coloring or whatever, you stick it on the person, you use something like poke it, and then that blood. And I've done that on several occasions. I just lost my pen. Oh my goodness. I just hate losing stuff when you know what? It's going to stay down. I'm going to get another pen. Excuse me a moment. Uh, we'll find that pen after I shut down the production. But anyway, you can do that. Pen, blowing up a balloon. And I think there's some behind the scenes at RG Studios where me and Eric Young was shooting real Comanche. And you can see me with a long pole, poke at him, the blood, what I call a blood shot. I poke at the balloon, and then you just edit it to where you got that shot. You do the scenes a couple of times with and without the shot, and you can combine it and make it look pretty good. And use your techniques the way that in your post production to make that look good. Another shot is I used in the new technique. I had an air gun that shot spitballs at blood spitballs at the actor. I used it on Robert James, and then I'll just on myself. I get shot here, get shot here and here because the shots was. I didn't want it as bloody as the original Wild Bunch, but I wanted to emphasize the expression that these men were going through a moment that was going to end their lives. Simple. And I I couldn't convey that with the simple I wanted to make it work. Yes, this is rough. You know, never wanted to experience that in real life. Don't get me wrong. So it had to stay on the side of art. That's the side of a director. That's where I'm at with that. Miniature sets. I think I talked a little bit about miniature sets. No, that's something that you can build on a platform. I got that from the TV show Land of the Lost. When I used to read the Starlog magazines, I noticed that the sets were built on platforms that were probably that wide, and then you had these miniature sets. Of course, they're shooting 35 millimeter or maybe 16 millimeter on TV, and then blown up to 35. But these special effects were built on these little tables. I was fascinated by this shit. And these artists were putting in the work though. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm putting in like photographic shots. They're building miniatures and placing them together. Back then, before Star Wars, these miniature type effects, these people were putting work down. And of course, the work increased between 1977 and 1980, almost 10 years. There was a great call for that type of work. All of the 80s, there was a lot of miniature work going on. And it started fading out after Jurassic Park come out. That kind of brought it into a lot of the miniature work that we see. But in the internet art film, use miniatures, good stuff. You're going to see a lot of that done in Hardliner, the Creeps. There's some miniature stuff. I'm sampling some of my own work in that. Matter of fact, it's going to be taken from Progress and Crisis. I'm going to sample some work from there. I got somebody, Mr. Lee. Why is he calling me? I don't know. We'll have to see. Can't answer it right now because I'm doing this right here. I'm gonna have to wait until that stop and then we go back to talking. Okay, they can be so rude like that, but I'm in the middle of a live broadcast. Costumes. I just talked about the managers and what to look for. Before I get to costumes, remember, I'm going to be sampling my own work that I've already done in Progress and Crisis, taking some scenes from that and adding it to Hardliner, episode 2, The Creeps. It's just the style. The sampling is something I think is relatively new and is really new to me, but I've seen it done before in movies like Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. They've done this work really, really well. I recommend watching it, if nothing else, for the sampling of how they've done it. Will that become a technique used in major studios? I think they need to. I think they need to do that. They need to start sampling work. I mean, how many car crashes have we seen before? Uh, I wouldn't go with explosions, but let's say destruction of property, car wrecks, scenes with that seem like benign shots, subplot stuff, talking to characters who probably are dead now, but or very old, and they're in a film and they say these things that seem important, but maybe they are, maybe they're not. You can say, "Wow, we could." I'm gonna do that with. I'm gonna give you. I told a friend of mine the other night, the Omega Man. Now you got to remember, I got the concept of the Omega Man from the actual film Charlton Heston made back in 1970s. Between 1970 and 73, there was a film called The Omega Man. Might be, I think it was early 70s. And I'm going to buy the DVD. And I'm going to relook at this film and see what scenes I can sample from that and put it in episode 9. So you look for that. Okay, I wasn't going to mention that, but since we're talking about special effects and miniatures, this is a good time to give you an understanding where my expression is coming from. It's coming from because I like the way that it looks. There will never be another time in America where you can walk down the street and there's just trash everywhere. You know, car chases and you see all that trash going while the car's going. Why is that? Because America actually looked like that for a minute. Remember that old Indian that was crying about there's all this pollution? Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to see trash everywhere. But there, as an artist, we probably were more consumer wise, we were probably more benignly dismissive of that. But as an artist, I look at them like I was watching Starsky and Hutch, and I just saw that the streets were littered with trash. But the cars were going down the alleys and stuff. I don't know if the production crew put that trash out there or it was really real. I don't know. It looked like it belonged. And that, woo, that is something that will probably eat at other people. But it didn't eat at me because I sat there and looked at it and said, it's beautiful. You know, you probably see a lot of that expression come out of me watching the Omega Man and the hardliner. You will see things like this. I'll either sample them or I'll recreate them. I don't know why that is. It's just in me, and I'm creating. Maybe I'll get maybe effects number two will just explore the expression part and try to understand that. I have done stuff like behind the scenes and try to explain the or explore the reasoning behind the expression of making internet art films in some kind of way. You can look at that on some of the stuff I've done in the early parts, but I may have to stop and look at that and examine it. Why is that expression there? You know, why we're captivated by that? Why we take that in and then just we bring it out and you know, there we have it. Costume. Where to buy them? I buy my costumes. I bought some pieces today for the internet art film The Garden of Heathen Shepherds Against to Come. I bought Mr. Not baby, excuse me, Eric Young. I bought his costume for the General Campbell. I bought a coat. I'm going to redesign it, make it look like a military coat. It's a suit coat, but make it look like a military coat. Some of them things that I like to do, I'll buy him another shirt and have him a tie, red or a black tie that he's going to be wearing. And then he can wear whatever pants he wants to wear, black or beige, that will match this particular suit coat. I want him looking like a naval admiral kind of. You know. It's not going to be distinctively. You won't know what branch he's from exactly, but you know he's part of the intelligence community. That's what I like about being creative and expressive. I'm not trying to make it look realistic, like he's exactly from the military Pentagon, Air Force branch, or Navy. I don't give a dick what branch he's from, as long as he looks like he's part of the military intelligence. You see what I'm saying? We're just like going like this here, you know. And we don't even know what what branch he's from. We just know that he's part of this military intelligence group. You know, that's the mysterious part about it. I love that. It gives credibility of art to that. And I've covered 9 pieces today in the internet art filmmaking. I'm glad that those that joined on this live chat, on this live chat, who've been here for 2 hours. I guess I said it was going to be about an hour and a half to 2 hours in, so I covered it pretty good. And what else? I'm going to end this with like this mask here. This is something of a special effects that it's a real tight fitting mask too. I'm not going to put this on my head right now because this thing is so tight. Now I don't recommend wearing tight fitting stuff like this because of the realistic it tries to gravitate to. I'm not really into the realisticness of filmmaking. I'm into the art. But this thing is tight. I was going to cut it up, but I decided that there was an art piece to it that since it was so tight and it didn't need to have the mouth expressive and all you needed was the eyes that you could see and some movement going on like this here. That worked for me as an expression. And that's why I left it like it was. It might be recycled and used in another. Oh yeah, it'll be recycled. You can better believe that. In another internet art film, I'll paint the hair kind of black. I'll paint it purple or something, and maybe green and blue. Who knows? And you'll see him again. And this character, I don't know his name. I forgot it in the internet art film, but he's there. And you'll see him in the preview. If you go there now, you'll see the preview. He's looking around. He's kind of like instigator leader of the Staller, Jason Staller, trying to understand where we're going with space travel. And I appreciate everybody coming in, having a conversation today. I'm going to go ahead. Oh, thanks for the insight. Yes, yes. Thank you, Mr. Bailey. I love you, brother. I love you too. Oh, Mr. Bailey, I want us to do Expendables. Think about it. Just think about it. Coming back to Wichita, doing some Expendables with me and Justin Johnson. Think about it. We're probably a year and a half away from this. He's still working on his documentary. I'm working on a few things, but let's say next year we're going this about this time we're going to be trying to get something happening to where we can align out a schedule for us to get together. I'm gonna have everybody that's ever worked for me on the internet film in this film, and hopefully a few people. If you want to come, I want you. And if you know a few people who may want to join for the first time, please, if you can get 2 people to come with us, that'll be great. Expendables, the internet art film. You sure? Well, I know that's right. You're going to be in my sandbox. We're going to play. Mr. Bailey is going to join us on this adventure. Yes, we're going to blow up some stuff right down the street. And I got some connections now with the police department. They're going to help. They're going to make sure we don't get shot while we're running around with plastic guns. A friend of mine contacted me. They were scared about what they saw in the episode 8 of the Omega Man. I'm walking around with this gun because you know how things are today. It's crazy. But I got protection from the chief of police now. He said, please, Mr. Miller, you can call me. We'll make sure everything will be safe. Good. I love that shit. Oh, yeah. You're welcome, Mr. Carlton Twins. And thank you for tuning in. I'm going to get on out of here. I'm going to flip through this stuff. But I think I've covered a lot of stuff. I'm just going to leave with this, that as a filmmaker, sometimes you got to write your ideas down in notes. I got stuff like this here. I don't know what I'm going to use this for, but I call him the Red Guardian. I got another character here. Let me see. I don't know where it's at. I guess it fell down. But, oh, here it is. I call another one here called Cronus. No, him. Cronus. Something like that. You know, write your ideas down, put them in. You never know when they will come in handy later in some type of storyline. You know, something comes up here, you got some kind of flicker of an idea, just write it down, sketch it out, and then you place it in the file. Maybe you use it, maybe you don't. You guys have a nice day, and we'll see you later on who knows what, on streaming, internet, art film stuff, or have a good day. Thank you.